So again, good afternoon, everyone. So we are now at our last coverage. Ito yung last coverage, yung next topic natin, hindi kasama sa long exam. So this will be the last topic for the second long exam, which will be held on Friday. So animal breeding. So animal breeding is the science that deals with the application of various animal genetic principles, which aims to improve or enhance the performance of livestock and poultry species. So ano-ano ba yung mga traits na ini-improve or enhance natin para sa performance ng animals? So first, of course, is growth. So the faster the growth of your animal, the better for your farm. Kasi mas konti yung days na kailangan mo silang pakainin or mas konti yung food na kailangan mo bigay sa kanila to have the same performance as those na hindi na-improve yung breeding nila. So production, yung dinami ng itlog, dinami ng the volume of milk produced by the pigs, the number of, mamaya pala yung sabi. So the number of, wool, the wool, the quality of the wool. So things like that. So reproductive traits, dito na pumapasok yung mothering ability. Dito na rin pumapasok yung high litter size. Ano progesterol? First time ko narinig ang progesterol. Wait lang. Mamaya, balikan natin mamaya yung progesterol. PM mo lang ako. Narinig ko na ba yun? Precursor ba yun ng estrogen? Mamaya. Tignan natin mamaya. So, reproductive traits and even adaptive capabilities. So, ito na yung kaya tayo nga nagko-crossbreed ng temperate with tropical breeds para mas maging adaptable yung maging offspring nila sa climate natin. So, yan. Those are some, if not all of the traits that we aim to improve in production. So in a simple sense, animal breeding involves selective breeding of domestic animals with the intention to improve desirable and heritable qualities in the next generation. If tandaan niyo pa ang PowerPoint na to, sa lecture 3 natin, if second. So si Angus bred with Brahman to produce Brangus, which this Brangus has the characteristic of Brahman na adaptable to the environment, can tolerate heat, is resistant to pests dahil nagsisecrete sila ng oil which repels those pests, and kaya nilang mag-evaporate ng heat faster. And yung characteristic ng Angus naman natin na fast growth rate, good mothering ability, and yung superior carcass quality nila with marbling. So, yun yung idea. Yun naman talaga ang goal pag nagbe-breed tayo to improve yung next generation. So, ano ba specific objectives ng animal breeding? So, first is improve the quantity of production of farm animals and their products per unit of time. So, ang goal mo dito is kung yung parents ng or yung lolo ng animals mo can produce 500 liters of milk, halimbawa yung Holstein per month. So kung kapag nag-breed ka, ang goal mo within the same month more than 500 liters yung ma-produce ng next batch, yung mga offsprings ng animal mo. So ideally, ganun. Pero of course, most likely, hindi lang isang breeding ang gagawin natin to produce that. Most of the time, mga 3, 5 or more generations bago natin ma-achieve yan. Pero habang maaga pa, kailangan umpisahan na natin yung selective breeding to those animals na nagpo-produce ng higher milk. So next, improve the efficiency of production of farm animals and their products. Kind of same thought as first bullet. Improve the quality of farm animals and their products. So, milk ulit tayo. Kunwari, higher butter fat and protein para mas mahal and mas malasa yung milk na ibebenta mo sa merkado. So, next is improve the aesthetic value of farm animals and their products. And hindi lang, of course, sa production, hindi lang sa performance when it comes to meat yield, when it comes to milk production, high milk volume, high butter fat content. Kailangan yung physical characteristic din ng animal maganda. This is one of the reasons ka bakit na-develop ang mga dog breeds natin because of their aesthetic value. So, kaya nagkakaroon tayong pure breeds kasi pilit nilang binibreed yung mga magkakaparehong itsurang animal hanggang ma-attain natin yung breed na yun. So, breeding systems. So, to attain all of these objectives, we need to have a good breeding system. So, first breeding system is selection. So, selection is the process in which ikaw yung mamimili ng pwede rin sa artificial pala yung ikaw. So, sa selection, individuals in a population are referred for others for the production of the next generation. So, selection can either be natural or artificial. Sa artificial, ikaw yung mamimili sa mga animals na bibreed mo. So, natural selection. So, I think you're familiar with the theory of evolution and the natural selection. Matira matibay, survival of the fittest. So, it occurs when natural forces favor the survival of most fitted individuals, just like those indigenous animals in certain areas. So, thus, sa certain area, may mga animals na nagtathrive kasi through the generations kung sino yung adaptable sa environment nila, sila yung most likely mas madaming chance to proliferate para magparami. So most likely sila yung makikita mo. Kaya ngayon, 'di ba, madami tayong animals na nag-extinct na kasi hindi nila kayang mag-adapt sa current climate natin. I think tumaas na ng few degrees Celsius ang buong mundo. So umiinit na, some diseases emerge due to that change in the temperature. Mas madaming bacteria halimbawa kaya na mag-survive sa some areas kasi hindi na ganun kalamig, things like that. So another thing is though may nung napanood ako, sa tao hindi na gaanong totoo yung natural selection. So do you have any idea for the reason for that? Hindi na natural selection ang nangyayari sa tao. Okay, kaya? Yes, Miss Carion?
Kasi po, may hospitals na po and doctors and research na nire-research yung mga bagong diseases and create medicine po para doon.
Yes. Yun yung pinaka-reason actually. Medicine. So, if totoo pa rin ang natural selection sa tao, kaming mga hypertensive, yung mga minor, may lagnat lang ng konti, mamamatay na if wala pa tayong advancement sa medicine. So, ayun, na-realize ko lang nung sinabi nga yun. Oo nga, no? So, if totoo yung natural selection hanggang ngayon, I'm guessing walang cancer. Since yung mga may cancer cells na heritable, yung mga may cancer genes na heritable, most likely, they won't even have a chance to proliferate. Lalo kapag matindi na yung cancer. So, lang, magandang, may comment ka pa ba, Miss Carion? Sorry.
Wala na po.
Ay, sorry. Hindi, baka mangawit yung kamay, virtual na kamay mo dyan. So, ayun. Just true. Medicine, hospital, researches, which is good naman sa atin. Of course, ako buhay pa ako dahil nga sa medicine. Kung hindi, patay na ako. Na-atake na ako siguro. So, yun. Next is artificial selection. So, it is the process of breeding animals for their desirable traits by an outside source other than the organism itself or natural selection. So, dito na tayo pumapasok. So, unlike natural selection, artificial selection is not random. and is controlled by the desires of human. Hindi talaga siya random kasi pipili ka. Ikaw, titignan mo yung characteristic ng animal and sila yung pipiliin mo. So, humans identify animals possessing the desired characteristics and take steps in order to perpetuate those traits in the future generation. So, selection does not create new genes. So, hindi tayo nagka-create ng bagong, baka mag-breed ka ng good quality animal pero hindi naman pala nakaprogram sa kanila yung, halimbawa, nagbe-breed ka ng dairy cattle pero kapag binibreed mo sila, wag ka mag-expect na the next generation pwede na rin sila agad na high quality meat producer kung hindi yung characteristic nila. So, what selection does is it increases the frequency of desirable genes, and at the same time, it decreases and eventually it will eliminate the undesirable ones. Of course, kung sino yung merong undesirable genes sa mga animals mo, very high likely na hindi mo na siya gagamitin as breeding animal. So, kung sino talaga yung may pinakamagandang characteristic sa mga animal mo, siya yung gagamitin mong ipang breed. Hindi ka naman, kung alam ba, nakita mo na yung baboy mo, napakababa ng mga nagiging anak nila or as compared sa isang kapatid niya na 14 to 20 yung anak, tas yung baboy mong ito, less than 10 lagi. So, of course, most likely, hindi mo na i-breed yun, yung animal na yun, for production sa farm mo kasi poor performing yung animal mo. So, what selection does is, eventually, as the generation goes by na hindi mo sila binibreed, maaalis yung undesirable trait na yon. So, selection can be done for a single trait, pero pwedeng dalawang trait. Pwedeng gusto mo yung baboy has superior growth rate, at the same time high litter size, and at the same time good mothering ability. So, hope for the best ka nun. If tandaan nyo sa other lesson nyo sa genetics, 50% lang ng characteristic ng one parent ang mapapasa sa offspring niya. So, ikaw, both parents dapat good trait. Parehong, kung lalaki man yan, of course, you can judge his good mothering ability and litter size. So, ang gagawin mo nun is, i-judge mo yung kapatid niyang babae or yung parents niya kung high litter size yung naging mother nung born na iano mo, halimbawa. So, we will talk about that later. So, to. So, when selecting for superior stocks, the following methods are recommended. So, selection on the basis of individuality. So, an animal is accepted or rejected based on its phenotype for a particular trait. So, phenotype, physical characteristic ng animal. So, halimbawa dito, gusto mo ba ng may sungay o wala sa cattle mo? So, we will talk about recessive and dominant genes later. Pero ano pa ba? Gusto mo ba yung cattle mo, since some cattle are gusto mo ba exclusively black and white lang sila? Gusto mo ba pure white yung cattle mo para ma-reflect niya yung light, hindi siya gaano mainitan? So things like that. Nasa choice ng nagse-select, judge niya yung animal individually kung papasa siya o hindi para sa breeding system mo. So next, selection on the basis of pedigree. So pedigree is a record of individuals' ancestors related to it through its parents. So there can be individuals which are pedigree clean. So when we say pedigree clean, ito yung mga wala talagang history na bad genes sa kanununuan niya. And some naman, we call them pedigree dirty. Halimbawa, may yung kapatid ng ipang bibreed mo sana, prone sila sa fractures, ganon. Prone sila na magkaroon ng poor mothering ability, things like that. So, i-judge mo na. You can judge your animal na ipag-breed through its pedigree. So, sa mga dog breeders, I think familiar kayo sa mga certificates na para mapatunayang pure breed talaga yung animal mo. So, kind of similar with this. para ma-verify mo na yung i-breed mo pure breed din. So selection based on the basis of progeny test. So when we say progeny, ito yung mga anak. So animals, especially the sires, are accepted or rejected depending on the performance of their progenies when subjected to a standardized test. So halimbawa, ito yung cattle mo, no? So yung gusto mong characteristic ng cattle is brown color na very lean yung muscle, meron kang high carcass yield, pero yung naging offspring niya ganito. So, pwede mo na siyang i-reject nun if ayaw mo yung characteristics ng mga naging anak ng cattle mo. So, next is, pwedeng hindi anak yung pagbasihan mo, yung mga kamag-anak. So, animals are accepted or rejected based on the performance records of their distant relatives, such as aunts, uncles, half-brothers, and half-sisters. So, if sakali, hindi pa nabuntis, hindi pa nanganak yung animal mo, so, o hindi mo pa siya ipapabreed, ayaw mo mag-waste ng time na hintayin mo pang magkaroon ng anak yung cattle bago mo magdesisyonan kung worth it siyang i-breed o hindi. So, pwede ka nang magbase sa mga distant relatives ng animals mo. So, yan. Sorry. So, mating systems are tools that aid an animal practitioners in the development of new breeds, strains, and line of animal species. So, yung mating systems natin, pwede nating i-utilize to further improve existing breeds or strains para nga dun sa good characteristic nila. Especially during this time, pataas ang population natin, pataas ang demand ng consumers. So, kailangan mag-keep up yung mga farms natin para masupply pa rin yun, yung mga demand. So, we have different mating schemes. So, first mating scheme natin is inbreeding. So, it is a mating system in which progenies are produced by parents that are very closely related. So, distinct examples are parent-offspring mating and sibling-to-sibling mating. Though very common, usually ang nangyayari is yung father, siya yung binibreed sa daughters niya. So, meron namang magandang nangyayari sa inbreeding. So, inbreeding actually led to the development of most of our breeds in cattle or pigs din pwede. So, it has been used in the past in the development of subbreeds of livestock. So, its genetic effect is by increasing the homozygosity of genes. So, of course, if you keep on breeding same related animals, most likely, ma-amplify talaga yung genes na meron sila since wala silang choice, mag-mix and match din yung genes ng kapatid nila, most likely pareho sila ng genes. So, ma-amplify yung anumang characteristic na gusto mo sa animal na yon. So, I've read in some references, okay naman daw some practice ang inbreeding. May lang, of course, you have risks of having recessive genes na pangit. Oo, ayun. So, meron kayong isang kaklase sa farm daw nila, nag-i-inbreeding sila. Depende sa performance ng manok. Sorry. Nabigay ko na. Sorry. So, ayun. Which is naman, you just have the risk sa genes ng animal na lumabas yung bad recessive genotypes ng animal in the long run. So, yung risk mo sa inbreeding. Pero of course, if yun nga, sa genes ng mga animals mo, very sila, napakaganda ng performance, why not try mo muna ng inbreeding? But of course, in our practice, we don't usually recommend inbreeding. Pero if sa farm mo, of course, farm mo yan, you have your choice. So, yun. Yung sa kanila, based on performance, yung pag-breed nila, regardless of closely related yung animals natin. Mas mahirap daw silang alagaan, pero mas mahal silang ibenta. I'm not familiar sa field mo, pero interesting. I think some of our docs na nag-graduate, nag-try sila mag-venture sa field, sa game foul industry. So, I think game foul at saka equine industry, konti yung practitioner pero madaming pera. So, line breeding naman. So, sa line breeding, para siyang inbreeding pero hindi ganun closely related yung animals natin. So, example of line breeding is half-sibling mating. So, when we say half-sibling, half-brothers and sisters, either magkapatid sa tatay, magkapatid sa nanay, and cousin-to-cousin mating. Pwede rin dito yung aunt, yung pinabreed mo sa aunt or uncle niya, yung animal. So, line breeding ang tawag natin doon. So, ano ba naman lines? So, lines are individuals or group of animals produced by crossing two or more inbred parents. So, tandaan nyo, inbreeding, very closely related. Line breeding, related pero hindi ganun ka-close. So, less intense compared to inbreeding and line breeding natin. So, of course, if tapos na tayo sa magkakamag-anak, dun sa hindi na tayo magkamag-anak. So, crossbreeding, it is the mating of yun nga, bad effects. Tandaan nyo guys, kaya pati sa tao or any animal, hindi ganun common practice ang pag-inbreeding kasi nga magiging the more na ulit-ulit lang yung genes na mix and match mo sa animal, there's a high possibility na in the succeeding generations, mga after 3 or 2 generations, yung anak nila may problem kasi halimbawa meron ka palang recessive gene na prone sila sa cancer or a certain disease, sa congenital malformalities halimbawa. So, as you continue inbreeding animals, since yung parang genetic material from their parents pa rin na may history halimbawa ng congenital, ay may recessive gene na congenital malformality, eventually, you will reach a point na yung mga anak nila, mayroong up to 50% chance na every offspring has a 50% chance na yung recessive trait na yun yung makita. Mamaya, meron tayong Punnett square. Magpa-Punnett square tayo mamaya dito, guys. Don't worry. If miss nyo na yun. So, masaya actually yung Punnett square, lalo kapag 3 yung characteristic na sa inyo. Ang daming mong letters, tapos ko-compute mo ilang percent. So, masaya yun. I think you have a subject like that in your succeeding years. So, yun. So, ideally, ito yung ginagawa talaga natin. Crossbreeding and outcrossing. So, crossbreeding, I guess familiar na kayo dito. Mating of animals of 2 or more different breeds. So, dito na pumasok si Brangus, si Limousine, si Santa Gertrudis, dito na pumasok si sino pa ba? Beefmaster. So, we mix animals, 2 different types of purebred animals to create a crossbreed. So, outcrossing naman, ito, same breed, parang pure breeding ang outcrossing. Same breed, no, I think some references say otherwise. Pero sa reference ko, outcrossing, sabi niya ganun. So, mating of unrelated individuals within the same breed. So, 2 purebred animals na hindi magkamag-anak whatsoever, ibibreed mo sila. So, the genetic effect of these mating schemes is the same. In a sense na they increase the heterozygosity of genes. So, kabaligtaran siya ng inbreeding. So, inbreeding, homozygosity, sa crossbreeding and outcrossing, heterozygosity. Kasi minimix mo na yung 2 different unrelated genes para in a hopes na yung next offspring makuha niya yung good characteristics sa one parent and a different good characteristics sa other parent. So thus, hybrid vigor or heterosis is achieved. So heterosis is usually ginagamit ang term na heterosis sa mga crossbred. So heterosis is the increase or improvement in the performance of hybrids over those of purebreds. So yun yung tawag natin. Kapag mas superior na yung performance ng anak sa naging parent, heterosis na ang tawag natin doon, or hybrid vigor. So, though most common, ang ginagamit ng term is heterosis sa mga crossbreds since hybrids. So, of course, I search hybrids. Pwede rin siya sa mga purebred na ano. Ay, in-skip ko pa mo yung question na to. Wait lang. May na-question, ilang generations po yung pinaka-effective para masabing perfect breed na po siya? Di ko pa mo binasa yung F2, F1 para hindi na tayo mahirapan. Pero sige, I'll try to read it. Ay, nakalimutan ko na. Pero I guess 3 generations. Kasi mamaya, basahin ko yung manual. Di ko na-expect matatanong yun. Sige, next time. I'll prepare that. I'll prepare some slides or chat na lang kita for that. So, pinag-uusapan na natin yung breeding ng animals. So, before mag-breed yung animal, of course, is most of our animals need to be in heat, especially farm animals. So, heat or estrus is the period of time when a female will accept a male for copulation. So, the female must stand, or what we call standing heat, to be mounted before the reproductive process can begin. So if makikita yung picture, ang actually ginagawa ng vet or technician dito is tinutulak niya yung likod ng female animal. So kapag tinutulak niya, yung nagbibigay ka ng pressure sa likod and hindi naggalaw yung animal, hindi siya pumiglas, hindi siya nag-resist, that's an indication na pwede na siyang i-mate, ipag-breed. So if sa mga may pig farm sa inyo, na istorya ng one of our dogs, ang ginagawa daw nila sa other piggeries, kapag nagde-detect sila ng heat, lalo na yung mga female dogs natin, umaapak daw sila sa likod ng baboy. Like legit, nakaapak sila sa likod habang inaantabayan ng mga boys. Hinahawakan sila. Pero yung mga dogs natin daw, nakatayo talaga sa likod ng mga baboy para ma-verify talaga nilang hindi nagre-resist yung baboy kung imamount man. So yung principle of course that of course is ini-stimulate mo na, chine-check mo na, parang yung ikaw yung male animal sa lagay na to, ikaw yung boar, linalagyan mo na ng pressure para tignan mo if yung boar talaga yung sasampa, magpupumiglas pa ba yung female animal mo. So, I'm not sure sa other farm animals if tumatayo ka rin. Pero sa mga baboy daw, paminsan ganun. So, estrus period, length by species. So, yung heat na to, hindi matagal. Few hours lang or days sa few animals. So, sa cow, halimbawa, nag-hit na siya. Na-detect mo na merong hit yung animal mo. As shown by reddening of vulva, may konting release, frequent urination. So, 12 to 18 hours lang ang tagal ng hit ng cow. So, if 6 a.m., na-detect mong nag-hit na siya, dapat at the least 6 p.m. na-breed mo na siya. Kasi there's a chance na tapos na yung hit niya, hindi na siya receptable for males after that time. So sa ewe, 24 to 36 hours. Sa sow, 48 to 72 hours. Mare, 90 to 170 hours. And hen, none. So kahit kailan mo siya i-mate, pwede. Kagaya siya ng rabbits. Kung kailan sila mamimate ng buck, doon sila doon mag-ovulate yung animal. Ito, kailangan mo talagang i-time yung mga animals mo. Kaya most of the farms, meron silang effective record keeping. Inoorasan talaga nila. Ina-anticipate nila kailan yung next hit ng animal para prepared sila na, halimbawa, wala ka lalaki, nagre-rent ka lang ng bulugan. Naka-ready na yung bulugan a few days prior para i-mate kung natural mating man ang gagawin mo. So, natatanong to sa boards, kailan daw ideal yung time? Meron pang dito, meron pang additional dito pero di ko mahanap reference. Within this 12 to 18 hours, meron pang pinaka-ideal na time for this. I think 3 hours before the end of estrus, things like that. Hindi ko naman bibigay sa questions natin, pero ito bibigay ko. So, yan. Ito na muna. So, heat period. Next is estrus cycle. May O dapat to. So, estrus cycle, ito naman yung the time interval in between two hits, two estrus. So, sa cow, it takes 19 to 21 days before mag-hit ulit yung cow. So, halimbawa, na-miss mo, nakatulog ka siguro ng 12 hours. Tapos pagkagising mo, natapos na yung hit ng cattle mo, di mo napansin. So, magbilang ka ulit ng 19 to 21 days. And after 19 to 21 days, expect mong mag-hit ulit yung cattle mo. And dapat, by then, ready ka na. Kasi sayang, 19 to 21 days na hindi buntis yung cattle, pinapakain mo lang siya, sayang yung input mo. 16 to 17 days. Sows, 19 to 21 days. And mares, 21 to 24 days ang interval. So, ovulation rates per species. Ilang egg, since sabi nga, yung mga eggs na po produce na agad at puberty. So, every estrus cycle, magre-release ng isang egg. Magre-release ng certain number of egg yung animal, depende sa species. So, sa cows, usually 1 egg per estrus lang ang linalabas nila. Though paminsan, tig-dalawa yung anak ng mga cattle natin, which is, of course, good sa farmer. Mas madami siyang mabebentang cattle kung bebenta niya man yun. So, 1 egg per estrus. 1 to 3 eggs per estrus. Sow madami. 10 to 20 eggs per estrus ang kaya nilang i-release. Mare, 1 egg per estrus. And hen, approximately 28 eggs per month. Kaya malabong magkaroon tayo ng 365 eggs na production ng hen kasi hindi nila kaya talagang daily. And 1 egg requires around 25 plus hours to be produced. So, hindi talaga 1 egg a day. So, sa mares, sinasabi nila sa amin is kapag daw na-detect ng vet na more than 1, yung anak ng mare, tatry daw nilang alis yung isa, like abort yung isa, kasi hindi kaya, mahihirapan yung mare na mag-carry ng additional na weight, mabigat, of course, cow and mare, mabigat yung mga anak nila. Parang kasing weight na natin pag nanganak yung mga mare and cow, yung anak nila. So, yung iba daw farms, ginagawa nila is, ini-ensure nila na isa lang ang matitirang baby during pregnancy. So, depende pa rin sa'yo yan. Of course, if you wanna risk it. Baka kasi mahirapan manganak yung mare or masyadong drained kasi kailangan niya mag-provide ng nutrients sa anak niya. So, yun. Nasa iyo naman if kaya mong i-supplement ang dalawang babies. So, with that, we are now at biotechnology. So, this is more advanced than our simple inbreeding or crossing. So, gumagamit, mas ano na tayo dito, mas involved. Madami na tayong interventions when it comes to biotechnology. So, advances in the different areas of genetics gave birth to newer techniques. And so that even the genetic makeup of simple and complex individuals can now be altered and be directed to produce gene products that we would like to have. So biotechnology is the area of biology that chooses living processes, organisms, or systems to manufacture products or technology intended to improve the quality of life. So, hindi to related sa farm, pero kung natatandaan ko yung kung naririnig ko yung word na genetic manipulation, unang pumapasok sa isip ko yung mga glowfish. Familiar ba kayo sa mga yon? So, ang history ng glowfish is manipulate some of their genetic code para mag-iba sila ng kulay. Yung mapapansin nyo, merong bright yellow, bright red, bright green, any color na imaginable, kayang gawin kasi nalaman ng mga scientists anong part ng gene na yun na pag inalter nila mag-iiba yung kulay ng animal. So meron din daw progress sa gene manipulation sa baboy. Meron daw silang nagawa na kaya nilang gawing glow in the dark ang mga baboy. So sa ibang bansa yon, nalaman nila ano yung genetic material sa mga anong genetic code sa mga bioluminescent animals. Tapos tinry nilang incorporate yung genetic material na yon, inintroduce nila sa mga baboy. And yun, yung mga next meron na glow in the dark na sila. So yun. Discussion ng namin, genetics din kay Doc Aris. So I'm not sure anong discussion yun sa inyo next time. So yun. So of course, main purpose pa rin ng biotechnology is same with production, improve the quality of life and improve the production level. So first, na common biotechnology sa farm is artificial insemination. So AI is still considered as the most useful and applicable strategy of increasing the number of genetically superior progenies or babies from proven sires and dams. So it maximizes the use of genetically superior males. So tandaan nyo guys, kailangan genetically superior yung both sire and dam, yung male and female animal mo to produce genetically superior progenies. Of course, maganda nga yung characteristic ng male mo pero yung female mo mediocre or below mediocre yung performance. So, wala ring sense kasi 50% nga ng genes ng female baka mapasa pa rin sa anak. So, to ensure na maximize natin yung efficiency ng mga sperm sa AI, dapat pag-select pa lang natin ng source of sperm and bibigyan ng sperm, good good performing animals na sila. So, AI is a reproductive biotechnology in which semen is collected from males and then used in fresh or frozen form to breed females through the use of a catheter. So, in general, it is used widely throughout the world in poultry, cattle, and swine industries. So, sa large breed, sa mga aso to, no? So, may isa kayong classmate, nag-AI daw sila sa mga large breeds. Of course, ito. So, ang gagawin natin, possible na wala na tong female na to, pero gumamit sila dito ng teaser female cattle. So, meron silang teaser female, so sasampa yung male. So, akala niya nakapasok na siya sa vagina, di niya alam, merong collecting tube na in-insert sa penis niya, and pag-ejaculate, i-collect niya lahat yung nilabas ng cattle. So, some farms, if may nakita, familiar na kayo sa ibang pictures, meron lang silang parang wood stand, parang may foam lang, parang smooth, smooth bar na mahaba, tapos very sturdy. Doon sasampa yung cattle and yung male cattle, to be exact, yung bull. And yun, same thought, magre-release din siya, i-collect. Tapos, pwede mo siyang i-keep frozen as kapag kailangan mo na, i-AI mo na lang yung mga animals mo. So, ano bang benefits ng artificial insemination? So, bakit hanggang ngayon ginagamit pa rin natin siya? So, first, it increases the number of females that could be mated by a single male. So, isipin nyo, no, kung yung male na to, kung usually, ang isang male, kaya niya lang mag-breed ng, if not mistaken, 4. If recommended na mating lang ng male per week is 4 female sa mga bull and sow. Tama, patanda ko. 4 female per week ang dapat ipabreed para good quality pa rin ang semen. Pero kapag nag-AI ka, kinulak mo yung sperm niya, per ejaculation, baka kaya na yung 4 female or more. Per ejaculation niya lang. 1 session pa lang yon. As compared sa natural breeding na kaya niya lang is for female, baka sa AI, baka 40 ang kayang kayang kapuntahan ng sperm ng male mo. So, aside from that, it minimizes transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. So, of course, hindi na nagme-mate ang animal, so malabong magkaroon ng sexually transmitted disease, STDs. And some diseases kasi, some bacteria are present sa penis ng animals. Usually some bacteria kapag venereal diseases, usually ang mga male hindi sila subclinical carrier sila. Hindi sila apektado ng pathogen na yon, pero pag nag-mate, since nasa penis, halimbawa nag-stay yung bacteria, pag nag-mate, ma-introduce sa vaginal tract ng female and doon na mag-start proliferation. Usually, most of our venereal disease, abortion, ang kinakahantungan or sterility. Hindi po ba yung male lang yung safe sa transmission of diseases? Yun nga, usually sa mga sexually transmitted diseases, yung males yung hindi apektado, pero sila yung nagtra-transmit. So, yun. Subclinical carrier sila ng disease. Usually, ganun yung sa mga common diseases sa farm animals. So, of course, pwede pa rin naman maapektuhan yung males natin. Pwede maging sterile for a few weeks, few days, and hanggang maalis yung causative agent ng disease. So, males that are physically unable to mate naturally may still be used for breeding. So, halimbawa, napilayan yung good performing boar mo. So, para ma-utilize mo pa rin yung sperm niya, pwede ka mag-AI. Since hindi na siya makasampa kasi nga na-fracture siya, lalo na yung hind limb niya, hindi niya kayang i-mate yung sow. So, collect mo na lang yung sperm niya. Same din, may utilize pa rin yung semilla niya. So, semen or sires that may have been long dead can still be used kasi nga ini-store natin yung semilla nila through frozen, as frozen, and kaya ma-preserve ng mga semilla na yun for a few months or years. So, pwede natin magamit pa rin kahit patay na yung animal as long as alam natin good performing yung animal. And next is the number of progenies that could be produced by a single male is increased. So, same siya halos ng first bullet. The more female na maanuhan ng semilla ng male animal, of course, the more chances na madaming anak yung male animal. So, yun. So, yun yung common benefits ng artificial insemination natin. So, another part of biotechnology is gene manipulation. So, with advances in genetics and animal breeding, several techniques had been improved or introduced in order to hasten genetic improvement and ultimately improve efficiency and profitability of livestock and poultry production. So, magmamanipulate na tayo ng genes para gumagawa na tayo ng genetically modified organisms to produce a higher production sa farm or better high quality products sa farm. So other terms which are related to animal biotechnology are genetic engineering or recombinant DNA technology, gene splicing, and molecular gene cloning. So I don't know sa inyo guys if pabor kayo sa sa mga GMOs, pero in my opinion, I think necessary na ang mga GMOs natin to cater the demands of the current population. So if hindi kayo familiar, madaming issues sa genetically modified organisms. So if natatandaan niyo yung alam niyo yung balitang yung palay na may natural na vitamin A, kaya nagiging yellow yung palay o yung kanin natin pag linuto. So madami protesta against that. I think the two most common na nila is baka daw magkaroon ng cancer kasi yung genes, minanipulate, baka mapasa sa tao, magkaroon ng problema. Which is kinda, malabo naman yun, I guess. Kasi, when we do, GMOs, parang advanced lang siya na, selective breeding. Don't you think? Pero, I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong. So, another is religious belief. So, mali daw according sa some religions, mali daw sa tinuturo sa kanila yung mag-manipulate ng genes. Kaya, super protesta sila doon. So, yun yung common. Nagdebate kasi kami noon. Yung kalaban namin, pilit inaano yung sa Bible daw. Yun yung pilit nilang binibigay na rason sa amin. So, ayun. So, I don't know sa inyo if power kayo sa GMO, pero ako, G lang. Kasi, yun nga. Most of our kinakain naman, I'm guessing GMO na sila. Most of our snacks na kinakain from lab ay genetically modified na. When we say genetically modified, halimbawa, potato chips. Yung mga potato sources natin, kapag GMO na sila, dinevelop sila to produce many tubes of potato. Parang ganun. So, yun yung sa GMOs. So, I'm not sure if familiar ka sa problem na yun ngayon sa concern. So, yun. So, na-mention yung genetic engineering or recombinant DNA technology. So, these are techniques whose concern is to construct new combinations of DNA molecules that do not naturally exist. So, yun nga, yung sa mga glow-in-the-dark pigs, sa mga bright neon-colored fishes, so, na naturally dull-colored sila. So, we can now achieve that through genetic engineering, through through manipulating the codes sa genes that instruct for a certain characteristic of an animal or human. So, when a foreign DNA introduced in a bacterial cell or group of cells is able to replicate and increase its number, so this constitutes to a molecular cloning process. So, when cloned genes express themselves as an expression of phenotypes or characteristics partly or collectively, as in the whole animal. So, kapag yung mga genes na to, since minanipulate mo na nga, of course, the function ng genes is to be translated by proteins. Tapos yung proteins na yon, sila yung magbe-build. Gagawin nila kung ano mang naka-instruct sa gene ng animal. Pwedeng naka-instruct sa gene mo, may sungay siya. So, yun yung i-build up ng katawan through reading those genes. So, if yung ginawa mong, nag-introduce ka ng DNA molecule sa bacteria or group of cells, tapos yung mga cells na yun, sinundan nila yung genes na yung DNA, which na inintroduce mo sa kanila, i-read nila yung genes na yun, possible na magkaroon tayo ng cloning. So, I guess familiar kayo kay Dolly. So, Dolly the sheep is a very popular cloned animal. Madami nagsasabi, Dolly is the first cloned animal. Mali yun. Dolly is not the first cloned animal. In fact, Dolly is not the first cloned sheep. Pero ang kina-unique ni Dolly is siya yung first cloned mammalian animal from adult cells, from somatic cells. Yun yung naging difference niya sa iba. So, lumaki si Dolly from an adult cell. As compared sa mga nauna, from growing cells or from bacterial cells, I think the first cloned animal was sea urchin. Or, alam ko si urchin, tapos salamander, tapos naging sheep na 3. Tapos after more than 10 years, nung mga sheep na yon, si Dolly yung na-produce. Pero si Dolly yung sumikat. So, next is Jean, a dairy calf. So, some of the example of cloned animals. Sa humans, I don't know, baka tabu pa rin of course yung cloning of humans. Pero malay natin, may mga secret orgs na palang nagpuputos ng cloned humans. Pero dahil dito, na-develop yung stem cell therapy. So, if recently din, if nakita niyo yung balita, yung puso ng baboy, transplant sa isang tao, and naging successful yung surgery, though unfortunately namatay after 2 months yung tao. Pero ginawa yon kasi mamamatay na rin yung tao, and yung patient is nagbaka sakali lang, rinis na niya, pero tingnan nyo, nabuhay pa siya ng 2 months with that transplanted pig heart. Most likely, yung genes ng tao, inintroduce sa heart ay dun sa growing cells that codes for production of heart. Tapos, yun, after nun, kinuha sa baboy, linipat sa tao. Baka may chance na in the long run, na-reject siguro. Or baka successful naman talaga surgery, ibang cause yung kinamatay ng transplant sa heart. So, try ko hanapin yung article regarding that if hindi nyo pa nakita. Pero search na lang, first heart transplant from pig to human. Maganda siyang, good read siya. Try nyo siyang basahin. So, genes naman are units of heredity which are transferred from a parent to offspring and are held to determine some characteristics of the offspring. So, our chromosome contains DNA, and within that DNA, meron tayong gene segments. So, ito yung nagka-code kung ano mang process sa katawan. So, we have 2 types of genes, dominant and recessive. So, dominant genes hides the effect of another gene. So, for example, yung dominant characteristic mo is a polled cattle. So, kapag yung cattle mo merong dominant gene for polled, siya yung lilitaw at lilitaw sa anak. Merong sungay at walang sungay at merong sungay yung mga anak as long as meron silang dominant gene for being polled. So, sa Punnett square, this gene is represented by a capital letter. So, recessive genes, gene that is hidden by another. So, the gene is represented by a lowercase letter when writing them sa Punnett square. So, recessive genes do not necessarily mean bad trait. So, paminsan, yung mga recessive na characteristic ng animal, sila yung gusto nating ma-amplify. So, ang gagawin nun natin is, we keep on breeding animals that have the recessive genes. So, ito na, magpa-Punnett square na tayo. So, first, homozygous gene pair. So, this is an example of homozygous gene pair. Pwede rin dito yung lowercase p, lahat. Tapos lowercase p, lahat yung nasa loob na square. So, they carry 2 similar genes for a trait. So, dito, ang example natin is, being polled is a dominant trait. So, polled cow might carry the gene PP na uppercase yung parehong P. So, when we breed an animal that has both the dominant genes, so, ang result natin is 100% ganun din. Kung ano man yung dominant characteristic, yun din yung lilitaw sa offspring. So, heterozygous naman, gene pair, carries 2 different genes that affect a trait. So, polled cows might carry a recessive gene with a dominant PP. So, whichever characteristic is dominant, it will appear in animal's phenotype. So pinag-usapan natin genotype, phenotype, ano ba mga yun? So, genotype, kind of gene pairs possessed by an animal. Ito. So, kung purely dominant, a mix of dominant and recessive and purely recessive. Phenotype naman, physical appearance of an animal. So, pwedeng phenotype is black coat ng cattle. Pwedeng phenotype is walang buntot yung pusa. So, those are examples of phenotype. And Punnett squares naman are used to predict genotypes and phenotypes of animals. So, after this slide, Punnett squares na siya. So, heritability estimates the likelihood of a trait being passed on from parent to offspring. So, if your genes have low heritability, especially the good genes, ang mangyayari nun sa farm mo is it will have a slow improvement. As compared sa high heritability, mas mabilis mamana yung genes na yon, mas mabilis yung improvement ng farm mo. So, ito, Punnett square. So, assuming being horned is a dominant trait naman dito, while being polled is recessive. So, I guess familiar na kayo dito pero basadahin natin ulit para refresher. So, if you mate an animal, two animals that both have genotypes that are purely dominant, expect mo 100% chance of all babies having the dominant trait, in this case being horned. So, yan. So, kapag naman pinag-mate mo yung animal na pareho silang purely recessive, yung genotype nila, so expect mo na mayroong 100% chance that all babies will have no horns or will have the recessive trait. So, yan. Next. So, what if naman minate mo yung isang purely dominant animal sa isang animal na heterozygous pero dominant pa rin yung nag-show? So, ang mangyayari is 100% chance pa rin na merong sungay or yung dominant trait yung makikita mo kasi kahit na meron silang recessive gene yung dalawa sa square natin, nandito pa rin yung dominant trait. So, lilitaw pa rin sa animal na may sungay siya. So, what if naman minate mo yung animal na purely dominant sa isang purely recessive? So, ganun din, 100% chance na may sungay yung animal. Kasi, yan nga, nandito yung dominant trait. Nandito yung dominant genotype. Since tandaan nyo, dominants are the ones that will show up in the phenotype of an animal. So, to. What if naman minate mo yung isang animal na recessive, ay heterozygous, na may sungay pero may recessive gene with a recessive animal. So, you have a 50% chance of the baby being horned and 50% chance of the baby being polled. Since cross multiplication. Yan. So, what if naman parehong horned yung animal mo pero heterozygous sila, meaning meron silang parehong recessive gene. So, 75% chance of the baby being horned and 25% chance of the baby being polled. So, yan. Just kung mag-iiba man, kung tatanong black colors sa mga Angus as compared sa red, so palitan nyo lang yung mga ano. Pwede mo palitan yung letter, pwede H to, pwede N letter when creating a Punnett square. So, yun. That's the end of the coverage for second long exam. Pero, meron pa tayong isang discussion mamaya. Break muna tayo? Or kaya nyo pa? Last topic na lang, one topic na lang tayo after this. Ano?
Tuloy na po.
Alin po ulit ang dominant? Doon sa nagulo kayo siguro kasi doon sa unang example ko, yung wala pa yung Punnett squares, sinabi ko, assume mo yung polled yung dominant. Pero sa Punnett square naman, wait lang, pakita ko ulit. So ito, so being horned, sa Punnett squares na to guys, hindi, baka nalito ka dito. So gumawa na lang ako ng new new Punnett square. So being horned is a dominant trait while being polled is recessive. So ito yung recessive. Ayun. So ituloy na natin. Okay. Kung sakali man, you can have a water break naman habang nagsasalita ako. Okay lang naman. So pwedeng kain kayo habang nag-discuss. So I created this pero na-burnout ako sa design. Hindi ako artistic, nag-PowerPoint na lang ako. So, slideshow from beginning. So, yan. Again, good afternoon, everyone. So, we are now at the first topic for our third long coverage. So, since we won't meet on Wednesday, I might as well give this to you guys. Pero, para on Wednesday, makapag-focus kayo sa exam natin, or if you want to dissect the chicken, okay lang. So, animal health. Our topic for today is animal health and control of diseases. And edit ko to. Lecture 11 pa lang dapat to. So animal health refers to the physical and physiological well-being of animals. So its scope is not only focused on infectious diseases, so it also considers factors such as non-infectious causative agents, density of animals, or gaano karami yung animal, yung population ng animal, yung dami ng animal in a given area, stress, boredom, nutrition, temperature, shelter, and many more factors that can cause disease or can affect the well-being of animals. Sige. So, animal health. So, as veterinarians, and you guys will be future veterinarians, so it is your duty, and it's my duty, to ensure that any factors that can affect an animal's health can be addressed. So, any problems be solved, and any good practice maintained. So, ayan. Of course, nag-vet tayo. Aside from the money, ako money most likely. So, kasi you want to treat animals. You want, you will be a doctor in the future. So, your primary goal, especially sa clinical setting, is to save lives. To save the lives of animals. So, yan. So, according to the Office International de Epizootis, or World Organization for Animal Health, pero OIE na lang to be short. According to the OIE, animal welfare means how an animal is coping with the condition in which it lives. So, an animal is in a good state of welfare. Familiar na kayo sa Animal Welfare Act, yung 84-85. So, if, as indicated by scientific evidence, if the animal is healthy, comfortable, well-nourished, safe, able to express natural or innate behavior, and if the animal is not suffering from unpleasant states such as pain, fear, and distress. So if lahat to nasatisfy, dun mo palang pwedeng sabihin yung animal mo is in a state of good welfare. So, ma'am. Sige, mamaya. So, kailangan walang sakit yung animal mo. Okay yung space na provide mo sa kanya. Dapat good nutrition yung ibibigay mo. Walang possible sources na maka-endanger sa animal mo. Ito yung pinaka-tricky. Unable to express innate behavior. Kailangan kayang gawin ng animal yung naturally nagagawa niya sa wild. So, dito tayo usually nagmamaya. Meron tayong 5 freedoms. Dito usually nagkakatalo. Dito usually may problem. And if the animal is not suffering, or yun, hindi siya nahihirapan, hindi siya takot, or hindi siya uncomfortable sa'yo. So, good animal welfare requires disease prevention and veterinary treatment, appropriate shelter, management, nutrition, humane handling, and humane slaughter or killing. So, ito, this is goats or sheep farm. So, hindi ibig sabihin papatayin mo na lang yung animal, inhumane na yung gagawin mo kung paano mo na lang siya patayin. So, very wrong yun, of course. So, kahit sa slaughterhouse, meron tayong procedures to ensure that the animal will die with the very minimal pain. So sa slaughterhouse, usually ginagawa stunning ang term natin. So babarilin sa ulo yung animal. So of course, hindi caliber 45 ang baril. Meron specific stun gun na gagamitin para yung utak ng animal parang maging mushy. And kapag gano'n na yun, hindi na siya makaka-feel ng pain. So kapag binaril mo, ang next step mo nun, or if hindi mo man binaril, in-stun mo, pero any other means, pwedeng carbon monoxide poisoning. So, ano pa ba? Electrocuting. So, ang gagawin mo nun is quickly i-bleed mo yung animal. So, pagka wala na siyang consciousness, they can't feel pain, i-bleed mo na agad. So, sa mga sa mga baboy, ang ginagawa daw sa some farms, pagka-stand, kapag nangingisay-ngisay na, ikaka namin yung kilikili. Tapos, dun sa kilikili kasi may large vessels doon lalabas yung dugo. Sa dog naman, sa liig namin ata kinatnan, if I'm not mistaken. So, yun. Pagka-bleed, doon mo ma-ensure na wala na, deads na yung animal mo. And also, bleeding ensures that the meat will be of high quality. So, may mga research na kapag daw hindi na bleed ng maayos, pumapangit yung kalidad ng karne ng animal. So, yun. Ito na tayo. Ito sa 5 freedoms. So, 5 freedoms were introduced by the Farm Animal Welfare Council in 1992. So, the 5 freedoms are often used as a framework to assess animal welfare. So, first freedom, your animals must be free from hunger and thirst. So, kayo guys, especially mga pet owners dyan, make sure your animal is eating adequately and you should be providing water to them, ideally 24/7, para kung kailan niya gustong uminom, nakakainom siya. So, yun. Next freedom is freedom from discomfort. So, you must provide, ano ba, sa animal mo, kung itatali mo man yan, make sure yung tali niya hindi nakakasakal. Make sure na yung pinaghihigaan niya, hindi rough, hindi hard surface. Dapat may bedding, kung ideally may bedding yung animal mo. So, things like that. So, next is freedom from pain, injury, and disease. So, and self-explanatory, kailangan ikaw din as a vet, one of your goals, especially sa mga farm animals, or also sa mga purebred domesticated animals, kailangan i-prevent mo, gumawa ka ng program to prevent the occurrence of diseases. Kaya nga, di ba, binabakunahan natin yung mga animals natin. Yung mga dogs, ba, ng 5-in-1 or ng anti-rabies to prevent na magkaroon ng specific disease yung animal natin. Of course, kapag nagkaroon ng disease yung animal, it will lead to this. It will lead to pain. Kapag pangit yung housing mo, it can lead to injury sa mga animals. So, yun. So, ito, freedom to express normal behavior. So, ito, hindi to nagagawa most of the time. So, example, our dogs. Naka-cage ang mga dogs natin. So, doon pa lang, they can't express their normal behavior like digging the ground, hunting for food, maghahabol-habol na mga manok sa ano. So, they can't express their normal behavior. So, kayo guys, if ilang taon na nakakulong yung animal nyo, from time to time naman, kung hindi talaga kaya nakalabas, itali nyo, i-walk nyo yung animal nyo. Nakakaawa din naman sila. And of course, they need that exercise. Kapag naka-cage lagi, prone for exercise intolerance yung animal mo. So, ito din, hindi rin to nagagawa sa mga farms. If natatandaan nyo pa yung mga battery cages sa mga chickens. So, doon pa lang, they can't express their natural behavior. So, hindi na nasasatisfy ang isang freedom. So, next is freedom from fear and distress. So, kind of same siya sa 3. Pero, ito, dapat di takot sa'yo yung animal mo. Baka tinatrauma po pala yung animal mo. So, that's, of course, very wrong. So, I think, mahirap i-comply itong 5 freedoms na to. So, some of the time, you need to, kailangan mong i-sacrifice yung isang freedom ng animal mo for a better production sa farm mo. So, yun. This is usually for yung nadadali. So, kapag hindi natin na-satisfy, hindi natin halos na fulfill ang freedoms of animal, it will eventually lead to disease. So, what is a disease? So, disease, which is literally defined as lack of ease or discomfort, is any deviation from normal health in which there is marked physiological, anatomical, or chemical changes in the animal's body. So first picture, this is, ano kaya to? Ano kaya naka-encircle sa x-ray? Gusto ba mahula? So, So this is actually headbands. So headbands, nakain ng pusa. Pusa to. Kinakain siya ng pusa. Ayan, kapag in-x-ray mo, usually dapat wala kang makitang whitish na ganito. So nakita to sa x-ray. Hindi to yung mga headband na. Ito, these are heartworms. So, picture ba namin to? I think this is our picture. I'm not sure. Pero kung ito yung picture namin, ibig sabihin, itong mga heartworms na to, galing to sa asong dinisect namin for our pathology subject. So, pag open namin ng heart, ito nga yung puso, ito nga yung picture namin sa aso. So, pag open namin ng heart, nakita namin sa mga chambers ng heart, nakatambay ang mga heartworms. So, these are Dirofilaria amitis. So, kapag may heartworm yung animal mo, there's a chance na magkaroon ng blockade, of course. Makulangan ng supply ng nutrients ang extremities, other parts of the body. And magkaroon ng exercise intolerance yung animal mo. Kasi, yun nga, konti na lang yung oxygen na transport sa body. Kasi, na-utilize na lahat ng nutrients ng mga heartworm sa puso. So, last picture is another x-ray. X-ray picture of a cat. This is a feline infectious peritonitis. So, nagkaroon ng abscess or fluid accumulation within the body. So, imagine nyo, wala na lang to, wala na yung naka-circle. Hanggang dito na lang, kahit hanggang dito lang. So, look at the difference of the first picture and the third picture. So, fluid, ang fluid, kind of whitish siya sa x-ray. Itong black na to, gas lang yan to. So, this is abnormal. And ang nagawa ata sa pusang ito is they had to euthanize the cat. Kasi poor na yung quality of life ng pusa na to. And chronic na yung disease. So, yun. We will talk about chronic later. So, yun. So, this is an animal that deviates from its normal bodily condition is said to be diseased. And of course, its production of meat, milk, and eggs, etc., or its reproductive performance are adversely affected. So, these are all pictures of your 5th years ates and kuyas sa mga case reports na on my subject. So, ito, mapapansin nyo yung aso niya, meron siyang tumor. So, of course, if may tumor ka sa mouth, most likely, mahirapan kang kumain. So, bababa, of course, yung production ng animal. So, tubuan na ako recently ng wisdom tooth. Grabe, ang sakit pala. Kala ko, wala lang, sakit para, kasi di ka makakain ng maayos. So, same sa animals, sa mga mayroong oral diseases or sa mga mayroong laryngeal diseases, esophageal diseases, mahirapan silang kumain. So, ito yung sa case ng animal niya. Ito naman, pinanganak na walang isang paa. And mapapansin niyo, yung hoofs niya haba. Kailangan ng hoof trim to. So, of course, kapag wala na siyang isang paa, mas limited yung movement niya. So, if in terms of production, in terms of pasture raising, kapag ganito, mas konti yung distance na pwedeng masakop ng paglakad ng kambing na to. Ibig sabihin, mas konti yung pwede niyang mahanap na food. Kasi nga, mahirapan siyang maglakad. Or hahabulin sila ng predator, for sure, ito yung unang makakain kasi ika-ika siyang tatakbo. So, yun. Ito naman, this is a poor-looking horse. So, nagkaroon siya ng fracture sa paa, as evident by here. So, ang ginawa dito is euthanize na yung kabayang ito. Since race horse ata yung purpose nito or kahit pressure riding lang, Kapag usually mga horses, kapag nabalian na ng buto, they won't be back to their 100% performance. So, ikaw, option mo lang is to euthanize or display na lang yung kabayo mo, hindi naman siya pwedeng pagkarera or for breeding purposes na lang. If good pa rin naman yung performance ng kabayo mo. So, yun. So, diseases can be regarded as infectious if they can be transmitted by direct or indirect contact. So, when we say indirect contact, pwedeng yung virus present siya sa air, pwedeng yung virus present siya sa mga bagay na hinawakan ng deceased animal or person. So, things like that. So, these are caused by microorganisms. Infectious diseases are caused by microorganisms. So, those transmitted by direct or indirect contact are sometimes called contagious. Diseases that are transmitted by direct or indirect contact are sometimes called contagious. So, this is classical swine fever. So, makikita nyo is yung dugo pupunta sa skin surface, magkakaroon ng petechiae. Tapos, rabies. So, caused by a virus, transmitted through direct contact, particularly through bites. Ito, ano kaya ang disease to? Any guess? Naninigas yung paa, yung buong katawan. Na-mention ko siya nung diniscuss ko yung fencing sa housing. Ano kasing disease to? Yan, tetanus. So, this is tetanus actually. So, makikita mo sa tetanus or kahit horse to, sawhorse stance. So, familiar ba kayo sa sawhorse? Yung mga made from wood na yung yung kamay ng kabayo na made from wood na naka-extend talaga ng sobra. So, yan, ganyan yung makikita natin sa mga animals affected by tetanus. So, yan, nanigas talaga. Since yung muscle contraction, super hyper sa tetanus. So, non-infectious diseases are those caused by factors other than living organisms. So, non-infectious diseases can be caused by low level of nutrition, especially from lack of vitamins or minerals, mechanical injuries and lesions. So lesions, ito yung mga abnormalities na makikita natin when we open up an animal, such as cuts, wounds, and fractures. Oo. Okay, so may nagtanong, totoo po bang wala naman daw pong effect sa tao if makakain ng ASF-infected na baboy? Yes. Wala tayong receptor sa virus para mag-proliferation disease. So mapapansin nyo, madaming diseases na certain animals lang ang kaya niyang infect. So one of those diseases is ASF. So baboy lang talaga ang kaya niyang infect. Actually, we will discuss about ASF next week when we discuss about DNA diseases. So mag-in-depth tayo sa ASF next week, including the clinical science and how we humans can actually help in the transmission of the virus. So, next week natin discussion. So, if nakakain kayo ng ASF pork, okay pa kayo. Walang mangyayari sa'yo. So, no worries about that. So, naligaw ako. So, another cause of non-infectious diseases is mechanical injuries. Napilayan, nasugat yung animal mo, nabali yung paa. So, yun. Such as cuts, wounds, and fractures, poisoning. Ito, common to kapag inggit yung kapitbahay nyo or nakaawan yung kapitbahay nyo, lalasunin nyo yung aso nyo. So, yan. Common siya sa mga balita na naririnig natin. So, kapag na-poisoning yung animal nyo, dalhin nyo na sa vet or if may activated charcoal kayo, why not? You can try. I think mas maganda bumili na kayo ng activated charcoal. Yung tao kahit na-poisoning, pwede kang mag-activate the charcoal. So, gagawin na, i-coat niya yung lining ng intestine mo para hindi ma-absorb yung poison sa katawan. Yun yung purpose nila. So, hereditary conditions are non-infectious diseases and extreme environmental conditions. So, of course, namatay sa heat stroke, hindi yun infectious disease. Effective po ba yung Yakult plus egg? Egg white, yeah. I'm not sure sa Yakult. Pati biochem namin hindi na mention yung Yakult. Effective yung egg white. I-absorb nung albumin yung yung poison mo. So, yun. So, non-infectious diseases, this is, I think na-mention ko yung photosensitivity, if na-mention ko sa inyo. Kung wala naman po palang mangyari sa tao kapag kumain ng infected swine, sabi ko na sa iyo, hintayin nyo next week. Pero sige na. So, actually, so may nagtanong, kung wala namang effect yung ASF sa tao, bakit pa natin kailangan patayin yung baboy? Because yung disease na to, very contagious sa baboy. And tayong mga tao, we serve as a transmitter of the disease actually. Hindi tayo subclinical carriers, hindi yon. Transmitter of the disease kasi the virus can actually stay in our clothes, in our protective clothing pag pumasok man tayo sa farm. So, yung clothes natin, yun na yung pwedeng source of infection sa next baboy. So, hindi zoonotic disease yung hindi zoonotic disease yung ASF, pero it is very contagious. That's why we need all efforts to stop it from spreading further. Pinakita ko na ba yung pinakita ko na tayo yung spread of disease sa Pilipinas, things like that. Pero yun yung do sa baboy mababa I think hindi. They can have high mortality din pala. So sa ASF, kapag kasi nagkaroon na ng ASF yung farm mo, expect mo lahat sila mahahawa na. And there's a high possibility that those pigs will die because of ASF. So ikaw, as or the government itself, ang goal nila is hindi na mapunta yung ASF sa any other farm within the vicinity. So imagine niyo kung tandaan niyo pa yung chinismis ko nung nagpasok yung ASF sa Rizal. So if tandaan niyo pa yung storya nun, yung galing sa isang bansa, yung eroplano na may ASF, yung pork nila, yung pagkain nila, merong ASF na pala. Tapos yung tira-tira tinapon sa landfill. Tapos yung mga tao nagkakalkal sa landfill, possible na yung tira-tirang yun yung pinakain nila sa mga baboy nila. Tapos yung pinakain nila sa baboy na yun, pagkakain nila, doon na nag-develop yung disease. So imagine from a single scrap of food, lumaganap na yung disease. So what if madami ka ng sources of the disease? So mas madami, mas ma-amplify yung spread of disease. Kaya yun yung goal ng government. So to stop the spread of the disease. So if natatandaan nyo rin yung bird flu, so ang daming pinatay din na ibon doon within the 7-kilometer radius ata or 1-kilometer radius. If 1/7 if alam nyo yung rule na yon. So pinatay din kasi yun nga to prevent the spread of the disease. Kasi there's a high possibility na within those 1 kilometers kung saan nag-positive yung farm, there's a high possibility na positive din yung other farms. Kasi same vicinity, most likely same source of disease or gumamit sila ng same transpo na same, things like that. So madaming factors sa ASF. So I don't know if meron pang further explanation sa next topics natin next week, pero let's see. So again, another type of non-infectious disease is ito, photosensitivity, meaning sensitive sa light yung animal. So ang nangyari to kasi kumain yung yung mga ruminants ng halaman na rich in a certain type of toxin. So yung toxin na yun, ang ginagawa niya is ginagawa niya yung hindi kaya ng katawan ano ba tamang term dito? Inalify ba? Basta hindi niya kayang ng katawan na withstand yung exposure to sunlight. So mangyari, magkakaroon ng burning sa balat. So this, sorry wala akong makita magandang picture. This is vitamin B5 deficiency or pantothenic acid deficiency sa baboy. So ang mangyari sa baboy, maglalakad siya na parang gansa. If na-imagine nyo paano maglakad yung gansa, so sa mga baboy na deficient sa vitamin B5, ganyan silang maglakad. Yung parang piki silang maglakad. So causative agents of disease. So first is bacteria. So this is ano to kasi. McConkey agar to. Kapag feeling ko face to face na rin naman kayo pag proper na yan kayo. So pag face to face na kayo, and I think si Doc Presi Dizon ay magtoto na yung instructor nyo. So pag magla-lab kayo, you will be using McConkey agar. So ang ginagawa ng agar na to, so when we say agar, ito yung growing area, growing medium ng mga bacteria natin. So na-discover ang agar accidentally ata. Ginagamit siya kasi hindi siya kinda solid siya, pero hindi ganun ka-solid na hindi kaya mag-grow ng mga bacteria, hindi makapaghukay doon. So rich in nutrients ang mga agar na to. So dito nag-grow lang ang gram-negative bacteria, which we will discuss about gram-negative, gram-positive next week. So yan, sa MCA, I think this is E. coli. So kapag ginrow mo ang E. coli on McConkey agar, magiging pink yung growth nila. Ibig sabihin, lactose fermenting yung E. coli. So yun, magiging pink yung mga lactose fermenters sa McConkey agar. So viruses, I can't explain this. Hindi ko alam anong virus to. Pero we can only see viruses through an electron microscope. Hindi tayo makakita ng structure ng virus through an ordinary light microscope. So protozoa, this is an amoeba. So amoeba is a protozoa. Parasites. So this is madaming klase tayo ng parasite. So this particular parasite, nagbobore sila sa nose. Tanda ko, nose ng mga ng mga sheep or sa meat. So, doon sila lumalaki. Fungi. So, itong mga black, these are fungi na tumutubo. I think this is Claviceps purpurea. Yung ergot, if alam niyo yung ergotism. So, this is the causative agent. So, ito pala. Isa-isahin pala natin. So, bacteria. Akong gumawa, nakalimutan akong PowerPoint ko. So, bacteria are prokaryotic organisms. So single-celled, hindi ganun ka-complex as eukaryotes. So they are small, single-celled, commonly visible under the ordinary microscope, and they can have many different shapes. So first is cocci, round or oval in shape. Yung kanina Staphylococcus, so round shape. Bacilli, rod shape. So yung causative agent ng tetanus is rod shape sa microscope. So spirilla, long cells twisted into spirals. So one example of spirilla bacteria is yung causative agent ng leptospirosis. Leptospirosis. So spiral yung shape niya. So bacteria also include organisms called rickettsia, which like viruses can multiply only in living cells. So intracellular parasite ang rickettsia. Parasite. Oo. Kailangan nilang living thing bago mag-multiply. Some bacteria, viruses, some bacteria, all viruses need to have a living thing para mag-proliferate muna sila. Yan. So these are different examples of bacteria which hopefully you will meet pagdating nyo ng proper years. So this is XLD. XLD ata. Xylose leucine deoxyribose. So basta. So this is an agar na specifically nag-grow siya ng salmonella. If tama pa pagkatanda ko, salmonella which turn bright green. So ito salmonella shigella agar ata ito. So depende sa type of medium, depende sa agar na gagamitin mo, yung magiging structure, yung magiging kulay ng mga bacterial colonies mo. So in this particular medium, in this particular agar, magka-color black yung mga bacteria natin dahil sa different chemical reactions at saka sa products na napoproduce nila. So ito yung Staphylococcus aureus, which is its name itself, aureus means gold. So a bunch of cocci bacteria that looks like gold. So Staphylococcus aureus. So ito si E. coli na pink dahil lactose fermenter siya sa agar na to. Ito yung cocci shape na sinasabi ko. Ito yung mga rod-shaped bacteria. So ito yung leptospiral causative agent. Ito yung tetanus, causative agent ng tetanus. Ganito siya under the microscope. So tawag namin sa kanila is drumstick appearance. Yung stick ng drum or yung leg part ng chicken. Parang ganyan siya, no? So meron pa bang? Hindi. So some bacteria meron silang filaments, villi to allow them to move. So ganyan. And some bacteria are irregularly shaped. So viruses naman, so are infective agents that are made up of nucleic acid, either RNA or deoxyribonucleic or DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. So wrapped in a protein coat called the capsid. So they have no nucleus, no organelles, no cytoplasm or cell membrane, and they are non-cellular. So meron pa ba? So they are too small to be seen by light microscopy and are able to multiply only within the living cells of a host. So kaya hanggang ngayon, scientists debate if considered ba bang living thing ang viruses or hindi. Kasi hindi nila kayang mag-reproduce on their own. Kailangan muna nilang another living host. So up for debate pa rin yun. So wait lang. So mapapasin nyo, maririnig nyo sa some references, some viruses are enveloped. Same sa mga sa mga bacteria, yung mga bacteria meron daw silang protective coating. So sa viruses, actually, mas gusto ng mga scientists na envelope yung mga viruses kasi mas madali daw silang patayin. Mas madaling gumawa ng drug na nag-a-attach sa envelope ng mga viruses. So yung naman kasing sa mga bacteria, yung coating nila actually, ni-neutralize ng coating ng mga bacteria yung drugs natin. So mapapansin some drugs some bacteria are resistant to beta-lactam antibiotics. So meron kasi silang beta-lactase ata yung term sa coating nila na ni-neutralize yung effect ng antibiotic na yun. So how do viruses proliferate ba? So when the cells make viruses, instead of operating normally, the host gets sick. So how? So una, meron tayong virus na nakapasok sa katawan. So in this case, this is a DNA virus. So ang gagawin niya, attachment muna sa host. So nag-attach na kasi siya, no? Halimbawa. So mangyayari, after mag-attach, papasok yung viral DNA. So magkakaroon ng penetration. So after mag-penetrate ng viral DNA, magkakaroon ng production of nucleic acid and protein. So ang gagawin ng DNA na to, instruct na yung cell to produce the necessary building blocks para makagawa ng addition, ma-replicate itong cell na to. So kapag nangyari na yon, agad-agad hindi na nagfa-function normally yung cell. Kasi instead of normal body functions, ginagawa ng cell is gumagawa na lang siya ng copy of this virus. So after synthesis of nucleic acid and protein, magkakaroon tayo ng assembly and packaging of the virus. So yan, yung mga nagawang nucleic acid and protein, assemble na to create a virus. And after that, yung virus, dahil sa sobrang dami na halimbawa ng mga virus, magbe-burst out yan. So kapag nag-burst out na or namatay, nag-mature na yung virus, mamamatay yung cell kasi nagkaroon na ng lysis or yan nga, nag-open up na yung cell. Which in turn, nawala ka na nga cell, dumami pa yung virus na nagawa. And each of these individual virus will further spread hanggang lumala ng lumala yung disease natin. So, ayun. Tandaan nyo guys, never give antibiotic if alam mong viral infection. Hindi naman never give. Don't give antibiotics as the primary treatment for viral infection. You can give antibiotics to prevent secondary bacterial infection. Dahil mahina immune system, pwede ka magbigay ng antibiotic para makombat yung mga possible na bacteria na pumasok sa katawan mo na possible dahil mahina immune system mo. Sila yung mag-proliferate. So, yan. So, usually viruses, symptomatic treatment lagi yung ginagawa natin sa virus. Kung ano symptoms, you will try to alleviate the symptom. Kung may lagnat, bababain mo yung lagnat. Sinisipon, mag-mucolytic ka, things like that. So, protozoa naman. Protozoa are eukaryotic single-celled organisms. So, another causative agent. They come in many different shapes and sizes ranging from an amoeba, which can change its shape to a paramecium, which with its fixed shape and complex structure. So, protozoas live in a wide variety of moist habitats, including freshwater, marine environments, and the soil. So, some protozoa are parasitic. Ito yung amoeba. Ito yung paramecium. Ito yung paramecium. So, free moving. So, ito guys, never drink water from an unsure source. So, I don't know, baka iba sa inyo nagkaroon na ng amoebiasis dahil uminom sila sa maduming source of water or kumain sila sa maduming source. So, pwedeng magkaroon ka na ng amoeba. So, sa mga nagkaroon ng amoebiasis, I think hanggang mamatay ka, nandyan pa rin yung amoeba sa katawan mo. Ang lang, naghihintay lang sila ng opportunity na humina ulit immune system mo and mag-show ulit sila, mag-cause ulit sila ng clinical signs sa'yo. So, yun. Kind of delikado. So, don't drink water from sources that you do not know. So, nagkaganyan, rescued kita niya daw. Buhay pa naman. So, most likely diarrhea. Ayan, okay na siya. So, treatable naman, of course. Yun nga lang, may high chance na mag-stay low siya sa katawan, hindi siya mag-cause ng disease. Pero pag humina ka, yun, parang sa rabies. So, meron tayong other cases na it took years bago mag-show ng sign yung rabies sa tao. Like years, 18 years, ganon. Nung humina na yung immune system ng tao, doon daw nag-proliferate yung rabies. Nakagat siya 18 years ago, di siya nagpabakuna ng anti-rabies. After 18 years, na humina yung tao, doon nag-show sign ng symptom yung rabies. So that can be possible. So protozoas can move through cilia, flagella, and amoeboid movement. So sa cilia, ito, so tiny hair-like structures that cover the outside of the microbe. So they beat in a regular, continuous pattern like flexible oars. So sabay-sabay silang gumagalaw kung saan papunta. So next is flagella. So parang stingray ito na may mukha, no? So flagella, I forgot the name of this parasite. Pero you will meet this parasite on your fourth year. So long thread-like structures that extend from the cell surface. So the flagella move in a whip-like motion that produces waves that propel the microbe around. And next is amoeboid movement. So parang yung mga if nakita nyo nang gumalaw yung linta. So the organism moves by sending out pseudopodia. So may ilalabas mo na siyang part sa katawan, tapos hihilahin niya yung sarili niya papunta kung saan man pinunta niya yung pseudopodia ng yun. So, yun yung movement ng ating mga protozoas. So, parasites, organisms that live in or on other organisms and competes with them for nutrients. So, first, We classify the parasites depende kung sa dependence nila sa host. So optional occasional parasite. So parasites that briefly visits their host for nourishment but not dependent upon them for either nourishment or shelter. So an example is mosquitoes. So hindi siya applicable sa female. So 'di ba kapag hindi blood sucking ay kapag hindi nangingitlog yung mosquito, usually nectar ang pinagpapapak, especially ng mga males. Nectar ng mga flowers ang kinakain ng mga mosquitoes natin. Pero pag yung mga female kapag need ng mga itlog, kailangan kumukuha sila ng dugo from a host. Pero yun nga, hindi sila nag-i-stay sa host. So occasional, hindi naman sila laging nandyan, kumukuha ng dugo mo. So kapag lang kailangan nila. So optional occasional parasite ang tawag natin doon. So next parasite is obligate occasional parasite. So these parasites do not permanently live upon their host but depend upon them for nourishment and to some extent for shelter. So dito sa mga fleas and ticks, kapag kapag larva, hindi actually sila nag-i-stay sa host. Hindi sila nakatira sa host. Kapag adult stage lang sila nasa host. Kapag baby pa yung mga fleas and ticks, especially fleas, nasa lupa or kung yung aso mo may bedding, nasa bedding mo actually yung mga eggs at saka larva ng fleas. And kinakain nun is actually yung poop ng fleas. Kinakain ng mga larva yung poop ng fleas at saka yung debris. Yung mga dead skin cells, yung mga hair ng animal mo. So if kayo suspected yung may pulgas, yung aso nyo, pulgas ba ito? Pulgas yung aso or pusa nyo, pero hindi nyo makita yung pulgas, try nyo kumuha ng wipes, wet wipes, tapos ipatong nyo sa hair ng animal nyo, tapos wait for a minute siguro, tapos pag alis nyo, pag may nakita na kayong red spots, yun yung tae ng flea. Yung red spot sa sa wet wipes mo. So tae yun ng flea. Ang usually tae ng flea is blood din na kinakain nga ng larva nila. So yun, most likely nun, ma-verify mo nang may flea yung animal mo kung hindi mo man nakita yung mga flea. So next is the terminate transitory parasite. So parasitism is limited to a stage in their life cycle. So ito hindi yung adults yung parasite. Dito yung bata-batang stages yung parasite. In this case, botflies. So possible na kapag mangiitlog yung isang fly within sa sugat ng animal halimbawa or paminsan sa certain areas ng katawan ng animal hanggang mag-hatch, pwedeng sa muscle mag-proliferate. So if nakikita niyo yung ibang videos sa sa Facebook, yung inaalis nila yung bulate sa balat ng tao or ng animal. So yan. So we term those determinate transitory parasites. So certain stage on their life cycle, larval stage sa botflies. So permanent parasites. So parasitism occurs from the time of hatching of the eggs to the time the eggs are produced by the adult. So sa lice, mangiitlog siya sa head, mag-hatch sa head, into nymph, hanggang maging adult, doon pa rin. Di ba? So permanent parasites ang tawag natin doon. So erratic parasites naman, so those that occur in organs far remote from their normal location. For example, so liver fluke. So ito yung mga liver fluke. Dami. So this is the liver of our cattle, I'm guessing. So meron tayong mga worms na naka-attach sa liver. So if nakita mo yung liver fluke pero wala siya sa liver, halimbawa nasa stomach siya, nasa heart. So tawag natin nun yun is erratic parasites. Ibig sabihin, mali yung na-travel ng parasite na yun, hindi yung intended location niya. So So example, adult liver fluke found in other organs aside from the liver. So your intestinal parasites baka nasa stomach, nasa muscle. So erratic parasite na ang tawag natin sa kanila. So facultative parasites naman. So those that can exist both as free living and as parasites. So parang same siya na ano. Ay, hindi. So sasabihin ko sana mosquitoes, pero yung males lang, yung males hindi talaga pala makakain ng dugo. So larvae of flesh fly. So larvae of flesh fly can either be in the flesh or possible na nasa ground siya kumakain ng organic debris. So tawag natin nun is facultative parasite. So ito, ectoparasites. Parasites that live or parasitize on the surface of the body. We call that infestation kapag meron kang parasite sa balat. So infection naman ang tawag natin kapag yung parasites nasa loob na ng katawan. So we call those parasites endoparasites. So yan, mga bulate sa intestine. So next, possible cause of disease are fungi. So approximately 400 fungal species are pathogenic for humans and animals. So fungi are eukaryotic, non-photosynthetic organisms that obtain nutrients through absorption. So hindi plants ang fungi natin, guys. So hindi nila kailangan ng light. So kailangan nila is organic material. Decomposing organic material as a source of their nutrient. So they're widely distributed in the environment and they can produce spores. So yung spores na to very resistant sa drought, sa heat, sa loss of water, very resistant ng spores kaya madaling kumalat. So some of our bacteria can produce spores like tetanus and bacillus. So Clostridium and bacillus bacteria can produce spores. Kaya mahirap silang patayin unless we do autoclaving. So, pagdating yung third year pa lang siguro mag-autoclave na kayo sa wet. Kasi ang gamitin, matagal lang paghihintay. So, they are resistant to antimicrobial drugs. So, kapag suspected fungal infection, huwag din first line of treatment yung antibacterial. So, the two main morphological fungal forms are molds and yeasts. So molds are multicellular organisms that grow as branching filaments called hyphae. I think this is an aspergillus. So under the microscope, ganito ang itsura ng aspergillus fungi. Next are yeasts. So I think familiar kayo dito for wine and baking. So yeasts are unicellular and have an oval or spherical appearance. So these are two types of fungi. So, yun. Tapos na tayo sa causative agents of diseases. So, ano naman ngayon ang classifications of diseases? So, we can classify disease according to their duration. So, we can say a disease is acute if it starts quickly and run a short course, while chronic naman, those that run for an indefinite period. So, if yung aso mo, mga 10 taon nang may disease, chronic na ang tawag doon. If yung halimbawa, aso mo pa rin, biglang lumagnat, tapos bigla na nagtatain ng dugo. So, acute infection nun, ang tawag natin doon. So, the word acute does not denote a severe disease, though many acute diseases can be severe. So, hindi necessarily sinabi nating acute, deadly na. Baka possible na may mga acute disease tayo na mabilis lang talagang mag-show up, pero mild lang ang symptoms. Pero of course, madami sa mga common viral and bacterial diseases that show acute symptoms, malala, mamamatay, high mortality, ang usually nakikita natin. So the term subacute is used to describe a condition where clinical signs are shown to develop, while peracute are diseases which usually destroy the animal before clinical signs are seen. So kapag sinabi natin peracute yung disease, wala pa man yung sign, patay na agad, sudden death. So, madami tayong disease na pwedeng mag-cause ng sudden death, which we will discuss next week. So, yun, malalaman mo na lang yung disease kapag nag-necropsy ka na, kapag binuksan mo na yung animal, tinignan mo yung lesions, kapag nag-isolation ka ng bacteria and virus, doon mo palang malalaman ano yung disease. Or if endemic na sa area nyo, possible na yun na yung suspectya mo. So sa bakit disease, yan. So, may nagtanong, totoo po ba yung kapag kumakain ng damo or dahon ang aso, masama pakiramdam nila and cure yun sa kanila? Yun yung sinasabi nila sa amin. Wala pa akong nakita scientific doon, pero I'm guessing, alam ng aso anong kulang sa katawan niya. Alam niya anong kailangan niyang kainin. So, possible yun. Or possible na hindi pinapakain na maayos yung animal. And yun, nagkakaroon na ng coping mechanism yung animal, which in turn yung pagkain ng damo. Though I think common siya, no? Lalo sa cats, kumakain sila ng damo paminsan. So, I guess, yun yung naririnig ko din. Meron daw pang-treat nila sa sarili nila. Though wala pa ako nabasa, may isang reference regarding carnivores eating grass, no? So, if may nakita ako, I can chat naman sa GC natin. So, morbidity, number of animals in a herd or flock which are affected by the disease but are not dead. Mortality, of course, dead animals. Yan, malabong mabuhay pa to. So tinatanong to sa boards, morbidity and mortality rate. May calculator naman sa boards. Pero sa quiz natin, wala muna, of course. Para masanay din kayo. So, huwag niyong iasa lahat sa calculate. Gano'n. Para rin, mahasa yung nyo. Problem-solving skills. Wow, problem-solving skills. So, both mortality and morbidity are expressed in percentage. Natanong sa amin na nagbigay sila ng certain population of chickens. Tapos, nagbigay sila ng number, nagbigay sila ng ilan yung namatay. Tapos, may follow-up questions na nanggulo sa question. Yun yung tanda ko. Alam ko mali ako nun dito kasi I forgot the question. Yung situational lang, di ba usually situational questions, situation talaga like a whole ass paragraph para sa situation. Yung situation, sasabihin nilang situational sa board exam, one sentence, and hindi man siya situation. For example, situational sasabihin niya, tapos yung tanong, tetanus is caused by Clostridium tetani. Yun yung situation. Tapos magko-follow questions na sila. So sa board exam, natatandaan ko, nakalimutan ko na may question pa sa taas. May binigay silang total population doon. Tapos pinagbasihan kong number yung sa question sa baba na subpopulation siya ng main population. Kaya namali ako ng calculation. So yun. So morbidity, of course, bilangin mo lang ilan yung may sakit o i-divide mo ilan yung total number sa farm, i-multiply mo na 100. So that's the morbidity. That's the percent morbidity. So mortality rate, ilan yung patay sa disease over the population. Halos same lang ng population. So immunity. So it is the capability of an animal to resist harmful organisms. So the degree of resistance an animal can acquire varies generally between diseases. So natural immunity arises without man's assistance, but usually yung mga tao, especially sa farm, we interfere to give an animal immunity. We call that artificial immunity. So usually, of course, kapag alam na nating at risk yung animal sa disease na yon, bakunahan na natin. Pero meron tayong rule dito, kapag halimbawa sa bansa natin, walang FMD and may vaccine tayo halimbawa ng foot and mouth disease virus, vaccine, kung hindi naman daw present sa country nyo, wag ka nang magbakuna for that. Kasi there's a chance, a small chance na dun pala mag-start yung disease mo. Baka defective yung pagkagawa ng one vial of that vaccine. Baka super immunosuppressed yung animal mo instead na magkaroon ng ma-develop yung antibodies, ang nangyari, nag-take over yung virus. Kasi some virus na binabakuna sa atin are actually alive. They are just attenuated or mahinang klase ng virus. So, that can happen. So, mas maganda if hindi naman present sa area nyo, yung virus, walang nagkakaganoong case sa inyo, wag ka nang magbakuna for that particular disease. Magkakaroon ka lang ng additional risks. So, yun. That's the rule. So, an animal has acquired active immunity when it produces within itself the antibodies which help combat the disease. So, yun namang immunity makakall nating passive kapag the animal receives the antibodies from some outside sources. So, active yung immunity mo kapag ikaw mismo gumawa ng antibodies. Passive naman kapag yung antibody mismo yung binigay sa'yo. So, building up an active immunity takes time, usually 1 to 2 weeks, while the first antibodies continue to be produced for a long period, often for life. So, active immunity, matagal pa siya bago mag-show yung antibodies mo sa katawan. So, ano ba, natetanus ka, usually bibigay na sa'yo yung antibodies or rabies, lalo na kapag malapit sa ulo, bibigay sa'yo yung antibodies. Kasi kung binigyan ka muna ng vaccine for that, hindi yung antibodies, magde-develop pa lang. I-recognize pa lang ng katawan yung virus na yon, magpa-process pa sila. It can take 2 weeks. If sa ulo ka nakagat ng isang sure na rabid dog, baka that may be too late. Kasi konting time lang yung need nun kasi nasa utak, malapit na siya sa utak. So utak ang tina-target ng rabies rabies virus. So yun. So active immunity usually lasts for a lifetime. So tayong mga nagkaroon na ng chickenpox, malabo na tayo magka-chickenpox ulit. Kasi naka-develop na yung antibodies natin, yung katawan natin ng antibodies that are responsive sa kung may makapasok man ulit na chickenpox virus, kaya kabisado na ng katawan natin, kayang-kaya na nilang patayin. So sa mga naman, passive immunity, kapag binigyan lang tayo ng anti-tetanus halimbawa, ng anti-rabies vaccine, kailangan pa rin natin siyang ma-replenish. Kaya nga, di ba, kapag nag-anti-rabies vaccination tayo, we need to have a booster shot every year. Same with your dogs, they need to be booster shot. They have booster shot. Ano pa bang? So tetanus din. So tetanus kung kailan after a few months kung nasugat ka ulit ng isang rusty surface, pwede ka na ulit pa injection ng anti-tet. Though meron atang nade-develop ngayon yung one-time shot na anti-tetanus. So ako hindi ko pa try yun. Siguro some of you might have. So yun, kung possible na yun, napatunayan safe, why not? Diba? Para lifetime immunity na yung katawan mo for tetanus. So natural active immunity is acquired as a result of invasion by the causative organism, whether or not the dose of organism is sufficient to produce actual signs of disease. So natural kasi ikaw mismo through the environment nakuha mo nakapasok sa katawan mo yung causative agent. Active kasi yung katawan mo i-recognize ng agent and siya mismo yung gagawa ng antibodies. So, yun yung tawag natin sa natural active immunity. Natural passive immunity naman. So, natural pa rin. Hindi man manipulated by man. So, it is acquired from first milk or colostrum. Nandun na mapusa ako. So, yung antibodies na present sa colostrum, mapupunta sila sa babies. Kaya nga importante sa mga bago silang na tao or yung animals, kailangan nilang makasip ng colostrum from the mother. And alam ko few hours lang, 12 hours or less, lang yung maglalabas ng colostrum yung mother pagkapanganak. And if hindi nakainom ng colostrum yung animal, most likely, walang mapapasang antibodies sa kanya from the mother. So usually naman, yung mga antibodies na present sa mother, yun yung mga against the disease na common sa area nila. So, if wala yun, at higher risk yung animal mo. So, artificial active immunity naman is produced by administering vaccines or toxoids. So, mag-administer ka ng vaccine, tapos, since vaccine is for an inactivated or weakened form or dead form of the virus, yun yung magkakaroon pa rin ng active immunity kasi gagawa pa rin yung katawan ng antibodies for that. Though artificially introduced siya sa katawan. So this does not give the disease but stimulates antibody production in the animal in the same way as a natural infection. So artificial passive immunity naman, ito yung sa mga COVID patients, yung mga binibigyan ng serum from recovered patients. So small amount of blood serum from an immune animal can give a reliable immunity. And an artificial passive immunity when injected into a susceptible animal. So yun, meron tayong natural active, natural passive, artificial active, and artificial passive immunity. So disinfection is the process of converting a place or object from a potentially infective state into one which is free from infection. So the first and most important stage of disinfection is cleaning. So a generous use of potent liquid disinfectant, pwedeng masayang lang kapag hindi nag-penetrate yung disinfectant sa pinaka lower surface ng flooring halimbawa. So hard scrubbing is therefore often the most important part of disinfection or cleaning. So bago ka maglagay ng madaming liquid disinfectant, siguraduhin mong naalis mo na muna yung mga dust, yung mga possible nanigas na poop halimbawa ng animal bago ka maglagay ng liquid disinfectant for a final thorough cleaning. So share ko lang. So an antiseptic is used for killing the microbes on living tissues, whereas a disinfectant is applied on non-living objects. So terminologies to. So though sinasabi lagi natin mag-disinfect ka sa tao, sabi mo, pero usually as a term, sa medical term, antiseptic ang term natin pag ginagamit natin yung alcohol halimbawa to kill microbes on living tissues sa balat natin. So disinfectant naman kapag yung term na ginagamit natin sa pagpatay ng mga microbes sa mga sa desk natin halimbawa, sa cellphone mo, in-spray mo alcohol to ensure na ma-disinfect siya. So, yun. So, wag kayong palito sa antiseptic and disinfectant. So, manapit na matapos. So, animal hygiene, an important means of preventing and controlling disease is maintenance of good animal hygiene. So, if a herd or flock becomes infected with disease, it is very important to remove the infected animals to a place where they are isolated from other stock. So, naisip ko yung sa isda. So, this is our discus fish. So, parang dito kapag may disease yung isang animal, aalis mo siya, ilalagay mo siya sa quarantine tank. Same as kapag may bago kang isda, if may extra kang tank, usually, dun mo muna ilalagay sa quarantine tank mo or isolation tank yung bago mong isda. I-observe mo muna for a few weeks. Tignan mo kung may mag-show ng signs of disease and observe mo if may parasite. And if na-ensure mo ng clean yung animal mo, dun mo pa lang siya ilalagay sa safe main tank mo. So, yun. Madami kasi ako napapanood na aquarium videos. Yung si King of DIY, si Solid Gold Aquatics, if alam niyo sila, tsaka si Taylor ni Goldin. So, and nag-aquarium videos sila. Though yung dalawa doon, nag-stop na for YouTube. So, yun. Sinaseparate muna nila yung bagong fish or if may sakit sila, nilalagay nila sa separate tank. So, same lang naman din sa farm animals. If, may sakit yung baboy mo, if may extra kang area, ilagay mo muna doon. Observe mo muna para hindi sila makapag-spread ng disease kung infective man yung disease nila. So in some cases naman, it may be better to isolate all the healthy animals. So animals isolated in this way should be herded and looked after by herdsmen na hindi nagkaroon ng contact sa mga infected animal. So kung farm owner ka and gusto mong gawin to, ang yung method mo nun is kumuha ka ng bagong boy or yung boy na hindi pa na or girl, yung worker, kumuha ka ng bagong worker na hindi pa na-expose kung ano mang cause sa ano man nagkasakit na animal mo. Para sure ka na that human will not serve as a transmitter of the disease. So in outbreaks of diseases, an area is often declared to be in quarantine. So this means that the movement of animals is restricted to a certain designated area. So very familiar na tayo sa word na quarantine, especially 20 days. Kung kailan very mild yung COVID, doon napaka-stricto. Pero ngayong nandito pa rin yung COVID, madami pa rin cases, wala nang takot yung mga tao sa COVID actually. Which is, this is the new normal. And we are, I hope all of you are vaccinated na. So, I think vaccines really help para dito. Para bumalik tayo sa normal. So, yun. Wait lang. So, I think this is the last topic. Treatment. An increasing number of diseases can now be successfully treated with modern drugs. So, as new specific treatments become available, the need to care for treated animals also becomes increasingly important. So, when treating animals, kailangan ito din gawin natin. So, the animal should be kept in quiet surroundings and provided with an ample supply of clean water. And when its appetite returns, high quality feed. So, if para maging sure kang effective yung treatment mo, alis mo yung stressors na pwedeng mag-aggravate sa situation ng animal mo. So, of course, less noise, meaning less stress, and good quality food and clean water, less chances of gastrointestinal tract problems. So weak animals and those unable to stand for long periods should be given plenty of soft bedding such as straw. And if hindi makatayo yung animal, kailangan i-move natin yung animals 3 to 4 times a day to prevent pressure sores from developing. So sa mga may bedridden na kamag-anak dyan, so di ba goal natin is walang bed sores si patient natin. So tayo sa mga tao meron nabibili yung mga bed na nag-air. Meron silang circle tas pumapasok ng air doon. Tas nag-iiba-iba yung pattern para walang pressure sa likod. Hindi magkaroon ng bed sores yung tao. So in hot sunny weather naman, ample shade should be provided. In wet weather, a temporary shelter should be provided for the animal. So in recovering from disease in which anemia is associated naman, possible na may blood parasite, nagkaroon ng internal bleeding, nagkaroon ng cut yung animal mo, high quality feed together with mineral supplements containing iron and cobalt should be given. So the end. So any questions? Any questions regarding our topic? Wait lang. May nag-chat dito na. May nagtanong. Example ko lang yung yung dominant na horn. So, sa mga questions natin, situational lahat 'yan. So, hindi naman paano to? Hindi naman siya based sa Google yung question, yung example. That's just situational. So, sa situation na binigay ko, yung may horn yung dominant doon sa Punnett square. So that is interchangeable. So, meron tayong breed of cattle na naturally sa kanila dominant yung being polled. So, yan. Depende pa rin. So, any other questions? So, I think wala na. So, let's have a picture. And see you all noon on Doc, lesson 10 po yung animal breeding. Lesson 10, mali yung pag-ano ko sa lesson 12. Lesson 12 yung nalagay ko dun sa ano. Nag-iba, nag-edit kasi ako ng PowerPoints, nagbawas ako ng isang presentation. Nag-load yung pag-videos ng iba. Wait lang. Nasaan yung GC naman? Okay, guys. Let's take a picture. Nag-load pa. 1, 2, 3, smile. Wait lang po. 2 panels tayo. Next panel, please. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. So I will upload the recording of this lecture at the same time your PowerPoints on the drive. And don't forget, yung deadline ng chicken natin is 11 days from now, and your long exam for second long is on Friday, July 8. So see you guys Friday. We won't meet on Wednesday. Goodbye.
Thanks po. Good day